beginning. It was very late at night. So Paul said, "Where do you live? I'd like to take you home." And so I said, "The Algonquin," which is a great hotel in New York. If nobody knows it, I can vouch for it. I think a lot of people know it. Anyway, Paul took me there and left me at the front door. In the meantime, he said, "I'm giving a small party tomorrow at the plaza, and I want you to come, and I'd love you to sing. But more than that, I just want you to come and join us." So I said, "Fine." And up I went in this rickety old elevator, and I noticed that Paul, instead of just leaving me at the door, walked in and looked at me as I went up in this little rickety elevator, because that's what they had at the Algonquin. And I suppose it's still there. Yes. Anyway, I thought, what an interesting man. And I wondered why. He liked my voice. I couldn't figure out. And I wondered why he said, "You should sing an opera."
That's how you met J. Paul Getty.
Yeah.
Now then, he romanced you for about 2, 3 to 4 years that was 1935 when you met him.
Yeah.
In 1939 or so, he proposes marriage to you. And my question, Teddy, is by this time he is probably the richest man in the world. And I know every woman out there is saying, "Boy, if that guy asked me, I would jump at the chance." And I know you to be a very independent woman. I've read the book, and you're very feisty, and you tell it like it is. And this man had some things about him that I know we'll talk about a little bit later. But when he asked you, he had already had four wives. You would have been number 5. They didn't last too long. He asked each one in the 1920s, and one was like 1 year, one was 2 years, one I think was 2.5. And then you come along. So my question is, when he proposed marriage to you, how did you feel about this man and the money that he had, but also you had your own career to worry about? You were a world-class singer at the same time. So what went through your mind, and how did you finally decide to say yes?
Well, time had gone by quite a bit. Paul, I learned a little about Paul. Didn't know very much. I'd met his 2 wives. I didn't meet the 4 at that moment. But I thought he wasn't just a rich man. I heard that he had a lot of money, but everybody had a lot of money. I didn't know anybody that didn't have money, men especially, because they had to go to a nightclub and they had to pay. Certainly the women weren't. And so I remember thinking, from the time I met him to the time that he said, "I want to marry you, but I can't." Now, those were his words. I learned a lot about him. He was very studious. He loved reading. He knew so much. And I never knew a boy that came to nightclubs that knew as much as Paul. He was about 40 when I met him. I was just about 17 or 18. And I remember being so shocked at what he knew in life. He'd studied so much. I loved that. And in our going together, when we went out to dinner, when we went places, he would take me places I'd never been, to museums. And we'd talk about music. We went to the opera. Other people never took me to the opera. My mother had, but never a boyfriend. And so I became interested in this man's mind. Right?
But didn't you marry in Italy because of the war? Didn't you marry?
Oh, yes, yes. But that has nothing to do with why I married him. Anyway, the thing I wanted to tell you is that I found him fascinating. And I never found that in any other boy that I went out with. They mostly were talking about, let's go here to a nightclub, or will you be able to go to a show with me? Or Teddy, come on out to Yale, wherever, you know, and watch the men working on football.
So are you saying that you were never really enamored with his money as such?
I never thought about his money. I never thought about money. I was working for my money. I didn't care about somebody else.
And could you tell? Now, some people, Teddy, have said you were maybe the first feminist, the first woman's libber. You were very independent, and we're going back to the 30s, and I mean, people have difficulty today with glass ceilings, etc. Do you see yourself that way as someone who was so independent and in effect, you know, fighting for women's rights as such?
I do think I was, and I think, I don't want to take this away from you because you're very good, but I just want to tell you that I felt that you can be seduced by money. Everybody is. It's tough. And if you're poor or you need money, it's darn tough. Now we know it, in this day and age we know it. But I think you have to be honorable. I wanted to make my own money. I wouldn't want to be kept.